Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mr. Talks a Lot here today. And today, obviously, we're going to be talking about Sonic Frontiers. And I know, there's like 1,000 other videos on the internet, but don't you worry. I'm going to be ranting about this game for at least 20 minutes, maybe 30, 40, 50, who knows? Who knows? But it's really not going to be a structured video. It's just going to be me giving my thoughts throughout the playthrough. And so let's just begin with the easiest topic that everyone likes talking about in their videos. Cyberspace. Wait. My bad. I think I uploaded the wrong game. Let's go to actually Sonic Frontiers. Sorry, there's just so many green hills in this series now. It's hard to tell which game I put in the console. Especially when Sonic has the same model 5 years ago. So I'm just going to get this out of the way right now. So the one thing I just can't stand about cyberspace, out of anything, is the controls. The controls are just weird compared to Generations and Colors and even Unleashed. They don't feel loose or tight or janky like everyone says. I think they're just awkward. Like Sonic just either moves too fast or too slow. His jump is weird, but his air boost is incredibly OP and still good. I know in Forces it was OP. But I feel like in this game it's still OP, just in a different way. Especially since you can double jump and then air boost and skip parts of the level. Which is fun, granted, but it really doesn't culminate compared to the open world controls. And I know everyone's made that comparison, but it is true. It does feel weird about the controls in the cyberspace compared to the open world. Because, back in Adventure 2, or even Adventure 1, or any other Sonic game, all the characters would still kind of have the same controls. Like, in Adventure 2, the mechs, the speed characters, and, Knuckles, Rouge, they all had the same basic ideas of controls. Now, I know they all had their differences here and there, but the same idea applies to the basics. I feel the same way about Adventure 1, Heroes. Obviously, Heroes, it's just 4 teams, 4 times. But here in Frontiers, it's just weird. It's kind of like, I guess you can compare it to Forces, really. Because in Forces, classic Sonic felt really bad compared to modern Sonic and the Avatar, which controlled the same. But here, I just think it's much more jarring, since I think the open world controls are incredibly good for this game. And then my other biggest gripe with the cyberspace stages is really the level design. Now, I know some stages are original. I'm not even going to harp on the reuse assets, because, it's obvious that it's tiring to see Green Hill for the 1,000th time. But really, for me, it's the level design. Isn't it bizarre that they take level design from, Skyrail or, levels from Unleashed, but then put them in this game? And what's the other one from SA2? I think it's the Green Hill one. Not Green Hill. Green Forest. They take the Green Forest design and they just put it in the game, but it's weird because, Green Forest is not going to be in Green Hills. Green Forest is Green Forest with its music. And it has that incredibly fast-paced music in the stage. But it's just bizarre. I don't know. I know they probably did it to save time or cut corners, but if they were going to make a second game, and I feel like they would, this game is sold incredibly well. I was supposed to make this video, when the game came out, but I kept stalling. But I didn't. But if they do make a Frontiers 2, and they do bring cyberspace stages back, honestly, all I would want is original good level design with good controls. I know the asset thing is annoying, but if they reuse assets, it honestly wouldn't matter to me if the stage is fun. Proven by Generations, they reuse assets in that game, but yet the level design is so good, everyone loves that game, including me, right? So, that's just my biggest heart with cyberspace, really, is the controls and the lack of level design. But anyways, my biggest gripes is just really, it's just the level design and controls. Controls should be the most important thing in any video game. But this is just really what negatives with Sonic Frontiers. Like I said, I'm just going to be talking about them. There's so many other positives in the game. But if they just work on the controls with original levels, because I know they could do good original levels, I know they can. It's not that, there's no good way. No, you just need enough time and enough people. Some of the best Sonic games only had 3 people level designing for them, right? But to completely switch shifts from that, let's talk about one of my favorite things about the game, like one of the best things ever that I think Sonic Frontiers as well, is the exploration and bosses. I think the open world bosses are incredible in Sonic Frontiers. Like, I can't get enough of them. And the exploration, I know, ooh, but the level design, blah, 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 blah. But me personally, like, the first time I played it was on the Xbox One version. And, because I got the, spoiler alert, secret here, I got the game like 4 days before the game came out. But at this point, who didn't get the game early, right? I mean, I know I got the game early. But my first time playing through it, I 100% in Sonic Frontiers. And got all the achievements in one run. It's not really hard to get all the achievements in the game, but it's really to show how like good Sonic Frontiers is 100%ing. I did both in one run, and it was so fun to blaze through the game, 100%ing it, going as fast as possible. Especially since, you know, at the end of every island was an incredible boss fight. I mean, these in-island boss fights are some of the best boss fights in 3D Sonic. Like, I just can't get enough of them. I mean, I'm not the only one. You can look it up. And the first boss fight in Sonic Frontiers, any video has like millions of views, and people love the music, the QTEs, the God of War-esque cutscenes, the badass early 2000s music, like I said. It's just incredible. I can't get enough of it. And it just, all the games, it's like, this is like Sonic's version of like Metal Gear Rising. I mean, there's so many memes already, but this is Sonic's status game. Especially when you get to the third island, which we will begin at this video, it's totally a fucking Metal Gear. I mean, I think it's a Metal Gear. That's just me. But it's just like that. Like, I know, like, this isn't the first Sonic game with a combat system. Like, I know Sonic Unleashed had a combat system. But I think what works in this combat system in this game, because I love Sonic Unleashed's combat system, is I think it shines best with the boss fights. Like, I think in the in-world, like, the combat system, it's not that exciting. You just use the same combos, or the same Sonic Boom Kick, or you use the overpowered side-looping, and the actual enemies are just not fun. But the boss fights, I think the combat shine the best. I mean, you gotta be kidding me, it's so hype fighting these guys. I mean, they got the big moves, they got the stupid Kamehameha laser beams. I mean, it's just all over the place with these guys. It's so hype. And the QTEs, I just can't handle enough of it. I mean, I guess you could say, except for the fifth island, right?
Stop that plane! Wide open!
As I was saying, I mean, I guess you could say the fifth island, you know, the third island of Kronos, I guess you can say that has some interesting enemies on the hardest difficulty, because you should only be playing Sonic Frontiers on the hardest difficulty. Not only because you get the quote-unquote secret final boss, which might not even be the final boss, because, talking about in this video, another good thing why I didn't upload this video is that they are going to be releasing Sonic Frontiers DLC, and we might just be getting a different final boss. We really don't know. I wouldn't expect a third final boss. Not a third final boss. I wouldn't expect a new final boss until the third wave of DLC, since the first wave is just quality of life improvements. The second one is just open world challenges. But the third one obviously is playable characters, a new story, and I'm going to assume a new final boss. I mean, I could be wrong, but it might be the second update. But I knew in the first update, which is probably going to be controversial, the best update, because I know the second and third one are adding content, but the first one really is just quality of life improvements, which the game does need. The UI in the game is weird. It's not bad, it's just simple. There's no boss rush mode, which is my only gripe replaying this game. When I want to replay the boss fights, I just have to have a save slot for each boss. That's what I do on the Xbox version, and then I have it on PC, and that one I just play the game normally. Because I've only beaten Frontiers like 3 times. But I assume that when we get that, I could make another video talking about when DLC is fully out. But it is exciting that a new Sonic game is getting new DLC, like after the game releases. And we're getting playable characters, quote unquote. I really hope it's just not palette swaps Sonic as Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. I hope they do have unique abilities. Like, it'd be amazing to travel the open world in the sand desert as Knuckles, gliding and flying and shit, and climbing walls. It'd be really exciting. Same with Tails. I mean, flying around with Tails is always fun. And I guess hitting things with Amy's hammer would be fun too. And then going through the cutscenes as his characters too. Can you imagine a Super Knuckles fighting like the night boss? It'd be incredible. I mean, they already hinted in the game that Super Knuckles could be in the game. He said he could do the job better than Sonic. Makes a joke about it. Which is another thing about Sonic Frontiers, is the story. I mean, I haven't talked about the story, but I have 30 minutes to talk about the story. But real quick, I think the story, deep diving in that, we could break it up to each island. So Kronos' island story is nice. A Sonic game, you have little talks here and there, and Sonic is a little nervous in fighting the giant, but once he goes supersonic, takes down the giant, you know everything's gonna be cool, and then you go to the desert world. Honestly, in the story standpoint, the desert world might be the best in the story, not only because Sonic and Knuckles' reactions to each other, but them learning about the ancients, seeing those cutscenes for the first time, talking to Sage, Sonic trying to talk to her instead of just her assuming she's an enemy, him running away from the Titan, that big thing that just roams around like a Yu-Gi-Oh card. I mean, it looks crazy. And him like being nervous because he knows he can't take on the Titan. Since, you know, he fought the first one, he assumes the second one would be just as powerful as the first one, which he's correct. But I guess my only gripes in the game, which I will talk about at the end of the video, is really just Sage and the ending. Those are my only gripes about the game, but we'll get to that later. We can get back to gameplay. So, speaking of gameplay, one thing I will say that I think the second island has over the first island is that little section where it's like, it's not animated, but it's scripted, where you're running away from the Titan. I think that part's really exciting. Because you're not in an open world, you are in a scripted sense, but it is exciting that instead of you just fighting the first Titan and getting beat up, you're running away from the Titan, and it's like an action platforming section. Really engaging, really exciting stuff. But overall, I would say the second island might... It's hard to say. I would say the second island probably be better than Kronos. But definitely better than Chaos Island. And definitely better than the fifth island. But it's hard to say if it's the best island. It's still a good island. It might just because of the desert setting. And me personally, that is my least favorite aesthetic. Just in general in platformers. But we'll see when Frontiers gets a DLC. Maybe they'll add new stuff into areas. Instead of being a sand, it might be like a watery sand desert. Because the island does have grassy spots and stuff. On another note, the reason why I like that section so much is because your first time going through it, you're not going to be expecting it. And you're going to be expecting, you know, an easy time with Sonic, because most Sonic games are fucking piss easy. I'm going to be honest with you. If you suck at Sonic, you might have some issues. Just kidding, just kidding. But speaking of that, the reason why I say that is because recently I've been playing a game with my best friend. We've been playing Gears of War 2, and as anyone who knows who's played the original trilogy, playing those on the hardest difficulty is ball-bustingly hard. Unless a glitch happens, or, you know, some weird stuff happens after playing the game for 30 hours. But it's been really exciting to play like this trilogy for the first time with my friends, because not only the game's hard, the story's engaging, and I mean, that's what I seek in video games. I seek like a fun challenge and an awarding challenge to beat it. And I think Sonic Frontiers does that very well. Not with the puzzling, but really with the exploration and combat system, especially, like I said, that small section where it's kind of scripted but not scripted. You're allowed to do free control, but if you can easily die. I've seen people die a lot in that section.
Says you can't feel this heat.
Humanity, but what you did to Shadow in the future, that was your...
And I've seen people struggle with some easy puzzles, but see, everyone has different skill gaps, so it really just depends on what you find enjoyable in a video game, of course, especially in a platformer. But all in all, really, it's just a great time. But we'll get back to Sonic Frontiers, of course. Let's go to that Wyvern boss fight. Is it Wyvern? Wavern? The boss fight where, like I said, a giant, like, Yu-Gi-Oh monster. I don't know what else to call it. It's got badass music. It's got cool QTEs. It's epic. You get to fight it, and then that's when Knuckles brings up the Super Knuckles line. But I will say, out of all the Titan fights, I know this is going to be weird because I know a lot of people don't like the fourth and final one. I think the Wavern, what is his name? Honestly, I can't pronounce it. I suck. It's going to be on screen. Don't worry about it. Honestly, he might be my least favorite one. Like, I love all the bosses in this game. But if I had to choose, he would be my least favorite one, with Knight being the first, Kronos' boss being the second. The fourth island doesn't have a boss fight, of course. The fifth one would have to be the third one. It's just Kronos. I don't remember their names, but the fourth one is basically just Kronos' boss, but with more projectiles, honestly. That might be why I kind of like it, because since I love the first boss so much. But I'm not knocking Ares Island's boss fight either. I love the dynamic angles with the cutscenes, and I love the boss fight where you run around chasing him instead of just fighting him head to head. And how Supersonic kills him, where he throws his mouth up and shams all his missiles in there and blows him up sky high. Awesome stuff. Like I said, the boss fights in this game are literally the highlight. The Titan boss fights. For the best part of the game, easily. And then after you get through that island, of course, we go to Kronos Island. And this is my least favorite island in the game. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I do not like Kronos Island. Honestly, just because I know the easy gripe is because it's 2D. And that is part of the reason why I don't like it. Because not that there's 2D in the island, which when I first played the game, I had a huge problem with when I first played the game. Because I'm like, it's an open world Sonic game, right? So wouldn't you want to just run around in a 3D environment? So when I saw 2D, I got worried that it would be animated or...
I feel like a fucking celebrity in this town.
Forced upon you. For the most part, it's not forcing you to do 2D sections, except for some parts in Kronos Island. Not Kronos, Chaos Island. Well, I don't know why I said Kronos there. Chaos Island. Besides those parts, it's fine. That might be why, because it's not because there's so much 2D, it's because they force you to be a 2D. But mainly it's just that, it's the 2D sections that are forced upon you. It's only my only gripe with Chaos Island. I mean, I know some people got lost, I didn't get lost. I know a lot of people don't like the pinball section, which I haven't had trouble with. But even though just because I didn't have trouble with it, doesn't mean it's a problem. It is definitely a fucking problem. The score multiplier you have to get it, what is it, like 50 million, 15 million? I honestly don't remember. I just try to do the skip every time I replay that section. If I have to. But maybe they knew they had to do a bullshit section because they knew Knight was the best boss fight in the game. I mean, he is the most hype. His introduction is cool. He's just like taking a nap in a volcano. That's what it seems like anyways. And the Metal Gear-esque vibes I get out of it, it's just incredible. I mean, Sonic taking on this big dude with a big shield that's like a razor blade with the big sword. I mean, this guy's cool. The dynamic angles, I'm telling you, the boss fights in this game are fucking incredible. I can't say enough of them. We need more, Sega. We need more. You know that. New ones too. Don't reuse these boss fights in the next game. But I should really get back to Kronos Island. I mean, I know, like, aesthetically I love it, but really it's the forced 2D sections. I know I have to harp on that, but that's my only gripe with an open world 3D Sonic game. Like, can you imagine Elden Ring having forced 2D sections or Breath of the Wild? No, you don't. But maybe that's something they could fix with a sequel. Maybe they just were crunched for time Because we know that out of the 5 years they developed this game, they were having issues, and they begged Sega to give them another year. So the game we got would have been much probably shorter and worse, honestly. But it's fun. That was the past, and this is now. This is the current game we get. And honestly, that last year of development was probably worth it. This is what we got. I mean, just for the boss fights alone. And they're awesome cutscenes too. Especially when they're like at full power and you beat the shit out of them. Dude. That's why I think Knight's the best one, because you're like in a big arena. He's like in what are those, roller skates? Rollerblades? He's like rolling around having a good time. And you're there just to mess this crap up. And you should really play these boss fights in hard mode, because if you're underpowered, under level, which is really hard to do, because you can easily grind levels in the Big the Cat stages, because Big's in this game, because, I don't know, I guess he smoked pot and then woke up in cyberspace. Which, by the way, Sonic leaves him there, by the way. No one talks about that. But, yeah, no, it's really exciting to fight these guys. It's like an epic battle. And then when you finish them, they always play their epic music. They got the epic dynamic angles. I seriously can't get enough. And I think everyone else agrees with me, honestly. I mean, I would love to know what's your favorite boss. And I know some people are going to say their favorite boss, of course, is fucking the king. Anyways, but yeah, no. Alright, so, we'll be honest with you, the rest of this video is probably going to be unscripted, and most likely not even follow like what's going on screen, but I just feel like I need to get my final thoughts out here. There's really not much to say after just what I'm going to probably repeat myself like 3 times, but there's really nothing else to say besides what I'm about to say until the DLC comes out, so, here we go. So after you beat Kronos Island, of course, it's Arena Island or Rona? Honestly, don't remember. My brain don't work sometimes. But I would have to say that, just like a pure platform, it's a platforming island. You 100% it no matter what you're doing. But as a platformer like that island, it might be like one of the best parts of the game. Just running around the towers, and platforming all around is so exciting. Especially with Sonic's controls, since you can customize them. And you can go to any tower you want. The gameplay's fun. You're not bogged down by exploring. Like, I think a breather island with platforming was the right call. Now, if only the aesthetics weren't, of course, reused assets from Kronos Island. If it was just an original aesthetic island with platforming, that'd be amazing. And honestly, that's what I want in a Frontiers 2. There's one island just to be about platforming. With original aesthetics. And like an original feel, you know? Because the music in the background is very foreboding. You can feel this being like the final frontier, the final stage. You feel like after you deactivate the 6 towers, you're going to fight the final Titan and save the day. And it's really exciting to, even like on repeat playthroughs, replay as fast as possible. Because I've watched speedrunners, I've watched other people play the game, and to see them just go as fast as they can platforming, it feels like one big level from Sonic Generations or Unleashed. The 4th island does. And even if you mess up, Sega puts little spots to help you out. But yeah, no, that's just my favorite part. And then you get to the final island, which, I mean, it's just Kronos again, which isn't that exciting. And then you get to the final boss, which is just the space shooter shit. And I know everyone's talking about it, but it is annoying that you do the final boss, space shooter, like 3 or 4 times. It's not that exciting. And then you find out Sage dies, and Sonic really doesn't care, I guess. Maybe he does. And then Eggman cares, but it doesn't even matter because Sage lives. And she doesn't even die. And I knew that was going to happen. I knew Ian Flynn and the writers weren't going to let...
Sonic! Sonic! Sonic?
Sage die because, you know, she's a new character, and we can't just have new characters die because Shadow was supposed to die, but they brought him back, and they knew everyone would love Sage. But who knows, is she going to be a Sonic villain or not in the next game? It's really up to what the writers want to do 5 years from now when Frontiers 2 comes out. Anyways, yeah, really all I hope is that in a future story, I mean, if they bring Sage back, I mean, she needs to be not... They can't do a Shadow where she has, like, amnesia or she's a villain but not a villain. What they need to do is make her a villain, but then when she sees Sonic, she feels inclined to help her. And that's just a story idea I have. I don't know where else they would go because, I mean, I know everyone talks about Eggman, but Eggman's barely in the story, and I feel like the next game he's just going to be, you know, the big baddie of the next game, like whoop whoop, just because his daughter, whatever she is, you know, her, I guess it's her daughter, or his daughter, I should say, he dies but comes back. I mean, I know it seemed like it changed him, but it's Eggman. I mean, when does he ever change into this heroic person? He'll always be Sonic's kryptonite of evildoers, right? But that's just my only grasp of the story, that I just knew that Sage was going to die and then come back, and then in the next game it might be forgotten or not forgotten, and the story might not be crazy. Because, I mean, they do some character development with all the characters, even Tails. And, I mean, Tails, we all know Tails is the B-boy. He's just the side dog that does nothing. Because, you know, he's fodder. He's more fodder than Krillin, so... Yeah, no, I guess my only grasp of the story is really just that there's no other transformation besides Super Sonic from the final boss, which I know that they didn't promise us that, but it just felt like they were going to give us a new transformation, and they changed their minds. But that's just how I feel personally. I mean, I can understand everyone's fine with just there being Super Sonic, but I was expecting a Cyber Sonic or Hyper Sonic, but I'm not the only one that shares these opinions. But it's alright. Really, my only gripes with Frontiers now is that there's a Frontiers 2. I just wanted to focus on the 3D gameplay of the open world, and if they have to bring cyberspace, just make it have the same controls as the open world. That's where they should go. Instead of giving us 2 different controls, just give us one control, you know? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, this game is exciting, and it's fun to play it, and I'm really excited to play the DLC when it comes out. And I can't wait to experience it all with you. If I'm still alive by then, you never know. I might explode into a million pieces after fighting the end for the 100th time, dying at the end because I fell asleep. But yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else I want to talk about Frontiers. I guess I could ramble on about stuff over and over again, but really I'd rather just do it with someone else. But just in general, Sonic Frontiers is a good game, and you should play it. If not, you should watch someone else play it. And I hope the DLC makes the game even better. And that's all I really got to say for right now. I hope you guys have a good one, and hopefully there's another game like Sonic Frontiers that comes out sooner than 5 years, because I've been waiting for a game to be as amazing and fun as Generations. And hopefully the wait this time around won't be as long, and the sequel will blow everyone's minds, and we'll all be here again to experience the evolution of Sonic the Hedgehog.